3. We're live. Here it is. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. So glad that you're here. We have a very special guest tonight, Kinga. And I've been having a hard time saying her last name. We're going to try it again. Masztalerz. Masztalerz. I tried. But we have Kinga's with us. She's actually in New Zealand. The sun is out. You can tell it's springtime there. I'm super jealous. Looks like it's probably flyable if I had to guess. And I do actually have a friend there in New Zealand, and so I'm trying to justify trying to get out there and check out that country. It looks like a wonderful place. We're also joined by Sean. Sean's one of the moderators. Larry, he runs Para Orange Products. He's our sponsor tonight. And Neil is back with us. And Neil has been super busy over the past few months, and so he's been sporadic and just showing up in the chat. But he's back, and so I'm excited about that. And so with order of business tonight, just wanted to make sure that we take care of our sponsor, Para Orange Products. They make paramotoring and pre-flight paragliding materials, all kinds of stuff from windsocks to stuffed sacks and knee boards. Oh, Perspective has a knee board. I didn't know you got that. That's awesome. He's got a great website. Go to paraorangeproducts.com for all the stuff that they have there. Go check out their store, and you get a 10% discount if you use the promotion code from the show, which is Thursday RN in the checkout. And
I forgot there was a promotion code too. Darn it.
You paid full price?
Yeah, I paid full price.
You just had to, if you would have just waited, he would have sent you one for free. He gives away stuff like
I don't.
I blame it on the bag lady.
Yeah, bag lady's fault.
It's bag lady's fault, yeah.
She roped you in. So I'm pretty excited about tonight. Now, if you don't know Kinga, I want to encourage you, go into the chat, or not the chat, go into the description and follow her channel on YouTube. She makes amazing YouTube videos, and I love them. They're so well organized and catchy, and just they flow so nice. You will love her channel. So make sure you go and follow her and subscribe and hit the bell and do all those things and like all of her videos, because they are impressive. And she just shared just before the show started that she has a bunch of new ones coming out, and so I'm very excited about that. Really, you're gonna love them. So without any more delay, I want to dig right into some questions. If you don't know, Kinga this last year qualified, or was asked because of her flying excellence, to fly in the Red Bull X-Alps 2019. And I at first hadn't, now this is, I just came into the sport a few years ago. I didn't know, I had never seen any girls competing. And so I didn't know that girls had already got in. And so the original show said that she was the first female to get into the X-Alps, and she had to email me back and say, no, I wasn't the first one. And so it was kind of funny emails going back and forth. But she is in the X-Alps 2019. I'm so stoked. I know a lot of people are cheering for you, and we're excited to have you on the show. And so welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. My first question, I wanted to ask, how did you get into paragliding?
So first of all, thank you, Robert, and hello, guys. Hello, all of you. It's really awesome to be with you. I love sharing. I think you see it also in my movies and other articles that I write. If you've ever seen and the pieces that I've written, I really love sharing with community. So it's really awesome to be here and talk to you in this very casual way. And yeah, thanks for this really nice introduction. I feel nicely flattered. And the question was, how and when did I get into paragliding? Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to be a very keen rock climber, and when I'm into something, I'm really 100% into it. So that was the case with rock climbing and alpinism. and you know, you organize all your holidays, free time, in my case also diet, everyday training, and of course friends. So everything is connected to climbing at this point. And then once upon a time, on a normal usual training, I fell badly. I hurt my elbow, and it wasn't anything very bad, but bad enough that I couldn't climb for at least 6 months. And after it crushed my plans for holidays that I already bought tickets to Thailand, etc., I I was basically missing something. First, I thought I was missing this everyday training. I couldn't sleep well. My body was a little bit like I was just something was missing. So I started running more and more. Running is cool, but it's a little bit boring. It doesn't really give you this adrenaline rush that rock climbing gives you. I loved this. So where else can you find this space, feeling of space and vertical movement? I signed in for a paragliding course, and the very first moment, the very first, you know, you start with like trying to put your wing up, and then you go to a very tiny hill and do these little hops. And the very moment I did this, my first little hop, when I felt that this piece of cloth that you can carry in your backpack and hike the hill, and then you can actually fly. It wasn't even flying, it was just slow falling, but I was completely hooked from the very first moment. And I got hooked enough that I moved to Italy from Warsaw, from Poland, where I lived back then. And since then I've been chasing it all the time. Everything was kind of, you know, it landed, paragliding and flying landed on the top of my priority list. And it was actually, especially the first year was fascinating because I was dirt bagging through Europe, from Italy, Switzerland, France. Switzerland is quite an expensive and difficult place to dirt bagging, but yeah, possible. And it was fascinating time because I was focused only on flying. Nothing mattered. So whatever was happening in my life, it had to give place to flying. And it was very nice, simple time that you didn't need to find any compromises with your normal everyday life, and flying, which as we know, can be quite difficult, especially if you have some normal 9-to-5 job and family and some other obligations. So once I switched to paragliding, after my elbow is all right for many years already, but I've never touched the rock since. I never came back to flying, never even thought about it. To climbing, sorry. I never even thought about it. It's just paragliding completely swallowed everything else. And yeah, and here I am. 4 or 5 years later, actually. It wasn't so long ago. It was just 5 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 5 years. You have some records. In New Zealand, you broke a record for the women's distance, and that's not an easy task. And so, how far was it? And maybe take us through the day.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I did it twice, and first time I did it the very first day, almost very first time I went to the southern Alps, because I'm based on the North Island of New Zealand, which is quite flat. And for some mountain adventures, I need to go to the South Island of New Zealand. And this is what I like. This is what I'm into. I'm into mountains. I've never been into flatland flying. I tried a couple of times, but it's just not my thing. I just don't feel it, don't like it. I find it not inspiring in many ways. However, of course, I know that people can thrive doing only flatline flying. It's also awesome. It's actually awesome that we can do different. There's place for everyone. What I'm trying to say that for some serious cross country, I needed to go to the South Island, and I did the very first year I came here to New Zealand, and basically the second day I accidentally broke national women's record, and it's actually a funny story. I also wrote an article to X-Mag about it because it was quite emotional in many ways. the very first day when I came to the South Island, the day was starting quite late on the take of Cardrona, where we were with some other pilots that I didn't know yet. I just met them, and pilots in New Zealand, because the weather can be quite difficult. Pilots in New Zealand, some of them can be quite cautious, and there's nothing bad about it. But sometimes they also can, like many other pilots around the world, can transfer their fears on others. So we were sitting for a good few hours on this takeoff, waiting for the conditions to change, to improve. And basically, I was listening to the stories that these mountains are so rough and so difficult. Only B wing should be flown here, and
She froze up.
But oh, sorry.
Wait, you
Oh,
froze
yeah.
up just
Oh,
a
did
little
I?
bit. Yeah, just for
Because
a second.
Because I can see.
I can still hear you.
Yes, and I can still see all of you.
You got to the B-wing part.
Yeah, the best part of the story. So sometimes this happens, but it's okay. So you said
that's okay.
The guys were
Okay
speaking.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're speaking
just
fear.
interrupt me whenever it happens.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's happening here. For me, it looks really good. I see you all nice and yeah. So we're sitting on the takeoff and for a few hours, and the pilot projecting on others their opinions, that are so rough mountains. New Zealand has such rough mountains, and it's so windy very often. You fly on the lee side, and you should really fly a very easy wing. The only B wing is the way to go. And there were like pilots with like 20 years of experience. So I was back then on a C wing, which I was very happy. I had been very happy up to this point, but it took me to the point that when I finally took off, I was like, oh my God, something horrible is gonna happen in a moment, And even if it never happened, I got really scared, and I got scared to the point that from the first thermal, basically people went to fly some cross country, maybe not super long because it was already quite late, but still, like, it was a nice day, and I just spiral dived and landed at the bottom, and was like, oh my God, I lost it. I completely didn't even enjoy this plane, and it took me and night and trying to explain to myself that there is basically nothing to worry about. And I was flying before. I had flown this wing in Swiss Alps and French Alps and different conditions. I was very happy with it. So what happened here? And yeah, while actually understand how much some can or your approach, even if nothing dramatic has happened, even if you haven't seen any dramatic accident, no one got hurt, nothing happened to you, I didn't get a bad collapse, nothing. Just it affected me to the point that I started considering like selling this wing and downgrading for B just after this day. But South Island of New Zealand, and the next day looked really good. So I thought, okay, I mean, I'm with the C wing, I'm gonna fly it, and I went for.
What wing was that?
It was Arctic P from Nivik, the wing that I fell in love. I tried it before buying, and I felt it's super nice. I really liked the hand. After about it, because after I flew another 3 or 4. Completely consumed it to the point that when I finally put it on trimming, I wanted to do trimming, and I put 5 kg on the line to measure it. I don't know if anybody here know how the trimming of the wing looks like, but they're checking the lines of the length of the lines. But basically, you stretch the line on 5 kg. And have this nice tension to be sure that what you are measuring is actually actually this what you should be measuring. You need this 5 kg, and I put 5 kg on a stabilo line, and I just broke it.
It snapped?
It was so consumed. It snapped at 5 kg. It was so consumed. And I did the same with another stab as well. It snapped. Like, so it was really well used when I finally finished with it. It was way later, and I was super happy with this wing later. But at this point of my paragliding career and of my flying, I was really scared to fly it, because someone told me that C wing is dangerous and B wing is not. You know, it's like, it's stupid. But
wow.
This is sometimes on emotional level, it's not easy to persuade. It's not easy to, you know, to explain. It's just, this is how it works.
Yeah.
However, at this point, I was on the South Island, and I really wanted to fly next day because the weather forecast was really good, and it doesn't happen so often on the South Island. It's quite difficult. There's quite difficult, you know, mountains in the sense that they are squeezed between Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean, so there's always wind coming from somewhere. But this day was really nice, and a friend of mine took me again to Cartona. We went together. A friend that hosted me back then, and he was very nice and calming, and he went for a big flight himself, and but kind of reconnected. Simply after a few thermals that were a little bit rough, I just, you know, started singing in the air and smiling and reconnected with this flying, and was cruising around and you know, like to the north, and then got a little bit lost, so came back a little bit to the south, etc. And it accidentally, I think I flew 135k if you calculate them on the 3 points, but open distance was like 84 kilometers, I think, and was enough to break New Zealand women's record back then. That was, I think, 75 or 70 something. And why this women's record was so short, let's be honest, you need to kind of understand that New Zealand is it's a demanding place to fly. It's quite committing. I mean, North Island has a lot of airspaces and generally low cloud base. So really, if you fly 30 kilometers here, it's like, yeah, good job, you did well, you know. And on the South Island, on the other hand, when the weather is good, you need to really commit to fly anything more than, let's say, 50 kilometers. You need to really go to the place where you land. There's a long walkout, or even night in the mountains, and you need to kind of, you know, like embrace it and treat it as an adventure, which it is. It's an incredible adventure because the small mountains, even high, like Himalaya, there's barely anyone, and especially in the Otago region on the part of the island. And last year when I did the vol-biv through this traverse through the southern Alps for 5 days, I basically didn't see anyone. So finally, when I got out from the mountains for a while to flatlands and saw someone, I couldn't stop talking because it was like, you know, I felt so isolated and so alone there. Because where
5 days?
You know, I mean, yeah, for 5 days I basically didn't. Yeah, not basically. I didn't see a soul. You know, I didn't even see like since I started. I didn't even see like roads or, you know, or houses. I flew above something, but like, most of valleys here don't really have roads or any type of civilization. They're very different flying. Probably a little bit like some mountains in America that can be also quite wild and remote. And so that was the first New Zealand women's record that I broke. That I didn't even know that I broke it. I had no idea what was the previous record. I didn't go for record, but at this point I already knew, and I thought, for something kilometers. These mountains, I knew that I barely touched the surface. You know, these mountains were like just. I mean, they were like kilometers and kilometers of mountains in front that I didn't touch because I basically didn't know where I was going, and you know. And so when I came back there 2 years later, later, I wanted to fly these mountains more. And this is when I did this this vol-biv, solo vol-biv through the Southern Alps, and at this point I knew what the record was, and I knew that I'm just breaking it because I'm flying. I doubled it on the second day of this vol-biv. I flew 108. 182 kilometers. I think on 3 points it was 183 and it was 172 open distance straight line. Straight lines that I really, this is something that I really dreamed about flying, because it's so beautiful and such an incredible line that takes you through over the passes and really wild valleys with no roads and wild rivers, and it's just wow. so yeah, at this
That's
point
incredible.
I flew from Queenstown area to more or less to where Mount Cook stands, the highest peak of New Zealand, and that was very emotional also, because it was the first time I put myself such remote mountains, or at least fly somewhere deeper, and on the very first day I stood on the top that I found, and there was like nothing that would really, see. And I knew that every kilometer that I'm gonna fly now, it takes me a little bit farther into the mountains, and it was scary. Let's be honest. It was the first time I measured I faced anything like this, and it was scary. And the first day was quite scary. I flew very turbulent 20-something kilometers. Finally put myself on the lee side, landed almost vertically down, and then just hiked to the other side and was like crying and cursing and everything. It's like, what did I put myself into, And then the next day I flew this dream flight. So it just like completely flipped, everything switched.
You have a couple videos that are really inspiring. And I want to, again, encourage everybody to go check out her channel. It's in the description. The link to her channel's in the description. There's a handful of the videos from her beginning, going on some fly camping trips. And she has a great video of all the things that she takes with her. And when that particular video's in fast motion, it's pretty cool. The other videos are on some pretty big cross-country flights into no man's land. And if you want to talk about adventure, when I first reached out to Kinga, she was actually, she calls it, what do you call it? Dirt bagging. Yeah. So she's got her travel vehicle with all of her everything sleeping in there. And I hear this,
but now I have a camper, even if it's 30 years old, almost my age. It's not dirt bagging anymore. I have nice. I have a home basically. It's not a dirt bagging. Dirt bagging was before, when I basically was taking I had all my gear, everything that I possessed at this point that I owned on my backpack. And for example, to travel from Italy to south of France, I took 10 trains because it was cheaper than taking just 3. This is dirt bag in my opinion. so or hitchhiking or sleeping somewhere in the very, very random places, like Milano suburbs, in my under some garden table that someone left behind because it was raining a little bit. The things like this. That was really, when I call it dirt bagging, it's way more dirty than just living in a camper van. It's quite a comfortable way of traveling. And I've been doing it actually for 3 years now. The third European summer I've spent like this, living in the camper and following the weather.
So the camper is there in Europe.
Camper is in Europe at my friend's place in Europe. Yeah.
That is great. So now when you go for the X-Alps, you're going to be using that camper. Oh, that's perfect. I was going to ask.
I think so. It's still work in progress. However, I want to do it. However, after this year, I'm a little bit scared because, as I said, it's really old, and it's been working really perfectly up this year. And this year it broke down just a day before air tour. it's another hike and fly competition. It happens in France just the day before, and we weren't able to repair it, and I didn't participate in Air Tour. No. On the other hand, I thought later that you know, good luck, back luck. We shall see. We never know, because the weather was really crappy this year, and they were hiking first 5 days. They were just hiking in the rain. So I thought, you know, I was following it, trying to repair my van at the same time. It's like, that's okay.
That's great.
That's okay. Maybe it wasn't so bad. Yeah, but basically, I have a vehicle there, and to use it maybe I will come with something more modern for the race itself. For example, something that will not break down for sure.
So
if not,
if you're,
I mean, I think
if you're watching this video and you're in Europe, make sure you help Kinga out and hook her up with a really nice big RV. So she doesn't have
with
to
with the shower, you know, because I haven't got the shower. I wash myself in the rivers and lakes. And, you know.
That's great. I'm super jealous. I love. I grew up in that same stream of, you know, camping and hunting, fishing, and living in for sometimes weeks at a time, camping, and I just love it. The adventure. When I first saw your video, that's what I was so inspired to hit the subscribe button. It made me just. I knew I wanted to follow your adventures. So I'm really excited about seeing what's coming in the future. We're almost at the half.
I have. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to say that I have 2 brand new movies coming out now. So
2.
One is almost ready, and other is in progress. One is about vol-biving through Dolomites and just enjoying autumn in Dolomites. Another is from Himalayas, because I just came back from Himalayas 3 days ago. And,
oh wow!
And I spent the whole October in Beerbilling and mountains at the back. Yeah.
Wow!
And it was beautiful, full of beautiful adventures and connecting. I once top landed after a flight to sleep in the mountains, and I met some shepherds, and they invited me for chai and for smoke. I don't know if we can talk about it. And, you know, just like connecting in so many ways. It's a beautiful, beautiful adventure. So I'm quite excited to share this one.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So I'm really excited to hear more, and I want to just real quick. We're at about the halfway mark. I want to just mention Pear Orange Products. If you haven't gone there yet, I want to just take a minute to go over there and just bookmark the pairorangeproducts.com in your search and go check out their stuff. He recently sent me a windsock, and so I busted that windsock out. Great material. I'm impressed with the make of it, so I'm glad that you thanks for sending that to me. And
you're welcome. You're welcome.
And thanks, Chris, for making that happen.
Chris,
yeah.
I did it.
No, she sent it. I saw her name on it.
Well, Kinga, you're some act to follow. I have to say, you're absolutely adorable, and I feel guilty flying a motorized paramotor, sitting in a recliner compared to what you do on a normal day. Boy, I'm kind of embarrassed. I have to ask you a question. Are you single?
I'm sure that's when everybody.
Calm down. Are you
everybody?
Single?
It's just very difficult. This is the first question from the team, from the moderator.
The underwriters.
I expected something a little bit like,
you knew
about flying, mountains, competence.
I have a very handsome son, just very handsome. And you know what? If you play your cards right, you could own this company.
Yeah.
See, obviously, I'm not the one you got to worry about. It's Larry over there.
No.
Wow.
I think, boy, if you met my son, it would be the perfect couple.
If this show was ever on the tracks, it just went off the tracks. And
he's just like you. He's a free spirit. He's a musician.
Completely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would love to meet him, but on a friendly basis, because I'm already taken.
Oh, I was going to throw in Disney.
I'm
I
already
was going to
taken
throw in
an
some
action.
passes to Disney too.
Actually, I'm taken, and this is original reason why I moved to New Zealand, because on the I was dirt bugging again in France back then. I lived in France, and on the paragliding takeoff in Annecy, I met Chris, my partner, and he's Kiwi, born and raised, and and he brought me to New Zealand, and then I fell in love with the place and with people, with community, with mountains and with lifestyle, and here I am.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear you're so happy.
Yeah.
But if if Chris ever gets out of line,
Okay, I will remember. I will have it in my mind. Thanks.
Got a new trailer, Disney passes. Just think about it. Anyway, let's talk about some products.
Yeah, what do you got, Larry?
Well, let got an announcement to make tonight.
Another announcement.
Well, kind of know this. We became a distributor for one of my favorite wing, McPara. And as of yesterday, we published everything. And if you go to our website, we are now selling McPara wings. So, I like to do things in a big way. So right now, and what we did a little bit different, if you go to our website, it's not just you click and you go on a link to McPara and you look at their stuff. They're all our pages. Prices are posted, all the information. You want to do some customized stuff. So what we're going to do as a rollout, if you order a wing, we're going to include, besides the laundry bag that McPara gives you, we're going to give you a take-along bag, no charge, the choice between a riser bag or a knee board, a windsock, and free shipping. Only for our viewers will get free shipping.
Boom.
So if anybody is interested in a wing, go out to the site. It'll give you instructions. We'll get together and work things out. But we officially are selling the wings now. And we're in the process. It's not there yet, but we didn't want to hold back selling. We're actually working on financing, if people want to finance wings. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get into this sport. And there's a reason why we're doing the financing, because there's a couple of other announcements that are going to come down the pike where that's going to play into it as well. So, my goal is to make the sport reachable for everyone. And that's one of the ways we can do it. McPara wings speak for themselves. I fly them. I'll be flying a couple of new ones just as demos. So we really, if you're looking for McPara, go out, give us a shout. I see people talk about them on Facebook and even on our chat. It's a well-known product. And I think they make one of the best wings in the field, in the sport. I did want to mention something else about, I know, Neil, I guess you bought a knee board, Neil? I didn't see it.
Yes, I did. I bought it last week. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I should. Hopefully, if the weather holds out, I'll be able to get a test run on it this weekend.
I did want to mention one thing too. We sold a lot of these, and I guess it was because we of the show last week. But I showed my phone in it, which I use it on my leg a lot. But a little word of advice: when you put your phone in it, put it upside down on your leg, so you can get to that little white button, because I found through here you can't activate the button. You want to be able to get to the little white button so you can change things. So anyway,
keeping your phone in there, that was one of the selling points for me when I bought it. It looks like you'd be able to, if you needed to take it out and take pictures or whatever, wouldn't be too big a deal to pull it out and put it back in.
Yeah, it works well. But just some people, I think, well, I saw a buddy of mine put it in the other way and he couldn't hit the button. So I leave it like this so I can get my finger in when I'm flying. So the big news is the wings. I don't really have much to show today, but I did want to, one of the things that kind of drew me into the show and getting involved with Robert is his perspective on safety. And I know Sean's perspective and everyone's perspective on safety. And as you know, I fly quite a bit, as much as I can, and the bag lady doesn't steal my keys. But one of the things I saw last week that really, it's not my business what people do, but I try to preserve the sport so we have a sport to to enjoy forever and ever. And I saw a couple of guys go up, foot launch guys, nothing against foot launch people, but they had no helmets. And I really want to say it's a cheap investment, and it's worth 10 times what you're going to spend to wear a helmet. And, you know, my advice to people that go out there without a helmet and have the Walkman on, well, not the Walkman, but shows my age, listening to music instead of other things, you know, let's try to keep the safety factor. And I know this is a pretty safe sport if we follow certain things and follow the weather and keep our equipment fresh and do our pre-checks and do what we should do. But not being able, to me, not protecting our head or listening to music as we're flying, I don't think that's the greatest combination.
Brain injury is not fun.
No. So I just want to put it out there to the people that watch this. And, you know, I was flying, a good thing happened a month or so ago. I was flying with a buddy of mine, Glenn, and he came over all depressed and said, gee, I can't fly today. I forgot my helmet. And I always have an extra helmet in my trailer. I said, here you go, Glenn. And I was like, wow, I'm really proud that Glenn had the sense to say, you know, he's a father, he's got children and a wife. I can't fly without a helmet. It's like riding a bike without a helmet. I rode a motorcycle for years, always with a helmet. So I know I'm sounding like an old fart, but I want everybody to be safe and enjoy the sport.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that is.
I can't agree more. I would just add that, as I said, I just came back from Himalaya, and in Bir, there's every October there's a huge paragliding community. Paragliding community, and it's growing every year. You can see how, like, it was my first October there, and you can see how it's growing, how it's becoming more and more popular. And unfortunately, with this comes more and more accidents every year. And we had at least 2 dead pilots this month, and many injured pilots. And there's a lot of reasons for it. We can make another show, a whole series of shows about safety. But just don't treat it lightly. I see all the time pilots flying with really loud music on loudspeaker, on headphones, and sometimes, as you said, without helmets, or treating it too lightly, like they are following pilots that they don't know. And maybe the pilots, especially in places that are like pre-mountain range, the Bir is very particular. There is a nice, easy front ridge. But once you go to the back, there are like mountains go up to 7,000. There are Himalayas at the back, basically. And when someone got overblown to the other side of the front ridge, not far away from civilization, it took them 5 days to find him. He wasn't even injured, but to find him, it was like 5 days in the mountains. He didn't have camping gear. He wasn't prepared. Just let's treat it. It's what it is. It can be very safe if we do it right, but if we don't think, if you make the simple mistakes, if you try to do 2 steps, like progress too fast, it's just so easy to pay really high price for these mistakes. Just as you said, like helmet, just basic stuff. Let's stay safe.
I want to ask you about you're obviously starting to gear up for the X-Alps. Let's talk about your training regimen and what's coming for you in the future as far as your preparation for that task.
Yeah. It's not that I'm just starting training in general. I've been in training regime for years, and for many reasons, maybe not like thinking only about X-Alps, but also other adventures. And right now, October is my rest month, and I don't basically do much when I'm in Himalayas. I hike when I have to, when I'm in the mountains and I land, in the mountains, and I have to hike next day, etc. So this is the thing. But I don't do much. I really let my body rest. And now I'm coming back to normal or maybe more intense training regime. And of course, there's a few parts of it of preparation to X-Alps. One is the physical training, endurance and muscle build, and then endurance. Another is mental training, and paragliding is a mental game. You also don't you know, you need to in an event like X-Alps, you don't progress by walking. Basically, you need to fly well and make right decisions. And it's a huge event with a lot of pressure, with a big following, with a huge media coverage, helicopters flying around, and other athletes with big names, and your balance in this, and perform as you can. And then there's the third part of preparation, is like general logistics, starting with equipment up to the right team and a vehicle that will not break down, etc. So physical, it's you know, it's hard. It's everyday work, and I basically mostly do strength at the gym, and run and hike a lot. And depends on the time. Now I'm just rebuilding muscle mass. I will be good 5 kilograms heavier than I am right now. But again, you lose it on the way when you go into the race. Yeah, I know that I perform the best, for example, when I'm 65 kilograms at least. That's a lot for a girl that it's less than 170 centimeters. I don't know how you work in this feet and pounds, but yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say that it might to work a little bit to gain some mass, and then to transform this muscles into good endurance machine, and that can keep going. And I've been there before, and I did it before, so yeah, that's relatively easy, even if it's hard work. There's not much philosophy in some ways in it.
How do they approach you? They send you an email, or they call you to tell you you've been accepted to the X-Alps?
To the X-Alps, yes. I mean, you send application in general.
Okay.
And they get, I don't know how many applications, and then from this they choose athletes, and they ask, in this application they ask about your paragliding experience, they ask about your competitions in the past, about mountaineering experience, or experience in the mountains in different fields, about and other adventures that may be relevant. Endurance, for example, I don't know, if you run some ultra marathons, they know, oh, okay, so you are not afraid of suffering, you know, etc. And then of course, for X-Alps, for the idea of X-Alps, and for Christoph, the director of X-Alps director, it's important to have pilots from different backgrounds and different countries. So let's say that if you are French, there's already 3 very strong pilots, kind of qualified. So to qualify when you are French, you need to work harder than, for example, if you come from Costa Rica, I guess. You know what I mean? There's a little bit, and the same thing with being a woman. You know, it's just kind of easier for me because there's just no women doing this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a few kind of secondary aspects of this qualification. But first of all, they need to. The most important for them is if you are experienced enough as a pilot, if you are able to make independent decisions in the air, and if to take off or not. So all this hike and fly competitions, or hike and fly or vol-biv adventures, they're really appreciated, and they want to be sure that you will stay safe, because of course, you know, having a dead pilot, that wouldn't be great for X-Alps PR, or you know.
Right.
So yeah, so they want to be sure that you will stay safe, and you won't hurt yourself, and yeah, and here we are.
So you have a team now that you're going to be working with, and did you say that this is your second time in the X-Alps?
No, I didn't.
It's your first time.
It's the very first time. Very first time, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, but you did some training there. you did do some flying in the general area. Do you think that did you fly in any areas that you know are a part of the X-Alps in preparation?
Yeah, I did. However, you know, when the season was still on last season, I didn't know that I would qualify. So, and also, even if you know your European Alps well, you know, I fly there every summer for like 4 years. Every summer, I live in the Alps and do nothing by flying, basically. But still, it's not exactly the same flying that you do in X-Alps, because X-Alps route, the most optimal route, takes you through the lines that you would never ever think of flying normally. You know, you see, you check the weather, you go to the takeoff, think, oh, let's go, you know, here, let's go to like from Austria to Slovenia through the main ridge of the Alps and the most nasty valleys in the, no, you don't think like this. You rather, you know, want to fly kilometers, want to follow nice ridges with relatively little amount of crossings, etc. So, you know, there are not obvious lines. Some parts of the route, and anyways, we don't know the official route yet. I will say that I hope it will be a little bit different than last year, because the last year it took some athletes through some Italian flats and our spaces, and it was horrible. And I was watching them suffering with this bad weather. It's like, oh my God, that's horrible, it's bad. So yeah, so I hope it will be more like 2015. That was more in the mountains and
Yeah.
and yeah, but yeah, I don't know yet. So and we'll know in winter. Or my New Zealand summer, and then I'm going to spend at least a few weeks before the race, probably in May, in Europe, on the reconnaissance of the route, just bits and pieces to connect it, yeah, to have an idea what the terrain is about. Yeah.
Is your team comprised of friends, or was this something that you selected based on their background?
My team at this point is my partner, Chris, who is the best supporter I can imagine. He knows me very well. He's a very experienced endurance competitor, and also with experience in multi-level, multi-day, and he's just a strong soul, works well under stress with lack of sleep. So you know, and to be honest, I'm working on another member of my team right now. It's work in progress. But to be honest, I don't want a big team, because you know, in X-Alps you can see everything from Nick Nainen's having his mom and brother as their competitors, and the little car with the tent that has to be put every day, every evening. And on the other hand, you have some competitors that are like coming with 6 cars and 30 members of the team, and the real circus on wheels. And you need to find your way of dealing with it. For me, the perfect team is 2 people and maybe potentially a driver. Take some of the some work off the shoulders.
Chris is going to he's going to rub your feet and bring you food. This is the best.
Rub my feet and bring my food, and feed me, and remember that I drink and eat. Yeah.
That's great. So what wing are you going to be flying in the X-Alps?
This is also something to precise yet. I'm working on it. I want to fly a lightweight, obviously, D category and the 3-liner. And there's a few wings to choose from. There's also a couple of wings coming this year for this X-Alps. So yeah, it's work in progress, but I want to stay in this category. I've been flying this wing for last season. This wing, I mean the 3-liner. I've been flying Climber from Nivuk. Very happy with it, and we'll see. You know, we'll see what's going to happen.
But you like it.
I like it a lot. Yes, I like it a lot. I have a little problem with most of the swings that are available as in production, just you can take from shelf, that they're slightly too big for me. That's the smallest size of the swings. It's a good size when I have my vol-biv gear with me. Then I have 20-kilogram backpack, and I'm nice 82 or 84 kilograms all in. But during X-Alps, I will have 8 kilograms on my back. So, I will be rather 73. And it's ridiculous, 75, let's say, with some bits and pieces, 70, maybe 77, but for sure not more. And then taking ballast every time. I'm working on solving it right now, just how to solve it in the best way. Because you don't want to, either you, I mean, some pilots also do it. That when there's a problem with size, you have either your supporter just carrying 5 liters of water for you, or you put some rocks and dirt into your harness to weight yourself. But it's not the optimum. It's like you have to find your way in this story. But for sure, I'm not thinking about two-liner, and I also don't want to downgrade because I'm really happy with flying and big glider. Yeah, so this is my for this time and space. Yeah, and the same thing is about harness, because it kind of comes a little bit connected to wing sometimes. Yeah, it depends what wing, and then it depends which harness. Yeah. But of course, we want to be as light as possible. Yeah.
We got a couple people in the chat from New Zealand that are watching.
Great.
That's
great.
That's great.
That's
If
really
you
nice.
are, if you're interested in following the show, we actually have a Facebook page. You can go. That's in the link. There's a link in the description for that, so you can see what's happening. Actually, Neil hosts that page. Go check that out. And I was considering making an Instagram for the show, but I don't know if ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I mean? So, but
I'll see what I can do about that.
I really appreciate everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's watching live. We've got 55 viewers watching live, and it's such a privilege to be a part of such an awesome community of people who are flying. My personal sport is free flight, and I literally have just my life is consumed by flying. I love it. It's one of the greatest things that's happened to me since I got saved, and it's insane. But I love it, and the reason why I made the show, and this is where I just want to put a shameless plug for the supporters of the show. We have a Patreon, and we also have a PayPal that people are supporting the show financially. And I'm just keeping all the money's just going into the coffers. And I started making shirts, and I haven't been charging for the shirts, but just giving away randomly. So actually tonight I want to give one away, and so I already made it. It's a large, and so
me and Neil aren't great, models, but
yeah. We try, man. We try.
So before the show ends, I want to give the shirt away. So you guys, Sean and Neil, figure out how we can choose that person. Somebody in the chat.
Okay.
Pick them, but go to the if you want to support the show financially, I'd really appreciate that. The show is growing. There's plenty of room to grow bigger, and I'd like to reach more people, maybe do some advertising and promote the show that way, because the foundation of our show is to help people to fly safer and preserve the sport and preserve the sites. We have a lot of free flight sites here in Southern California that, if some politician breathes the wrong direction, we could lose the sites. And we have great organizations here. And, if I have a platform to protect these sites and protect our sport, that's what we've designed this for. And if we can fly safer, and if we can learn something from one another, in every episode, I've learned something, every single one. And I go, oh, I can apply that. And most of what we do is life-changing. and or life saving. And so support the show financially. Go to Patreon. The link is in the description, and become a supporter. If you're interested to see who in the chat is already supporting the show financially, go to paraglidingtalk.com and then click the support button where it says support. And I actually have the Hall of Fame of all the people who are actively supporting the show. And instantly, as soon as somebody supports the show, usually if it happens during the show, I see it pop up in the email, and I'll give you a shout out. But your name instantly goes on to the Hall of Flying Fame. By the way, Sunday is Veterans Day here in the United States, and so that's why I wore the Resurgence PPG shirt. Shout out to all my military friends. Neil was actually in the United States Army, and you were a tank, drove a tank, right?
Yes, I was a tank gunner.
Tank gunner, and so appreciate your service, brother. And we were actually going to do a whole show with military, like military appreciation, and so we'll probably do some giveaway to our military folks. Really appreciate your service, and you guys are incredible. Check out Resurgence PPG. What they're doing is they're supporting military guys, getting them up in the air and flying, and supporting maybe veterans, combat veterans, guys that have laid their life down for the country. And I'm all about that, man. So I'm really excited about you guys, and also I'm excited about having the day off. My company is pro-military, and they're going to give us the day off on Monday, so I get to go fly.
I think there's a special announcement here.
What do you got? Who is it?
Perspective. Who's the lucky winner? Perspective.
Yeah, I already got a winner picked out. He logged in on his phone and actually was able to like the show twice. He put 2 likes in one evening, so he gets a T-shirt tonight. So Chad Troutman, you are the winner tonight, bud.
Dude, Chad Troutman, you are the man. You win. Dude.
I'll give you Robert's email address, and you can send him the information and get yourself a T-shirt.
That is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Robert,
so if you like the show like that, if you get a couple of likes in, you might win a T-shirt. You never know.
Robert, along the same lines, I just want to mention to the viewers that the last Thursday of every month we do a giveaway.
Yes, that's right.
Don't forget to tune into the last Thursday. If I'm not mistaken, Neil, they have to be online and a Patreon.
Yes.
Is that the rule for that?
Patreon.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
The Thursday RN. Yeah.
Even if it's $1 a month, $2 a month, every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, make it 100 a month. Come on, guys.
Yeah, do 100 a month.
You have the chance to win something that's going to be well worth $1 a month.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I heard the bag lady in the background saying Larry's trailer.
With all new wings, you get to use Chris's car for a week. No. I'm looking under my desk because I had a box of stuff to give away, and I guess the bag lady hit it on it.
Yeah, she hit it because she knows you're going to give it all away.
We have a new product coming out. I wasn't allowed to announce it tonight.
No,
because there's none in inventory, and she grabbed the whole box. Got something new. We'll bring it out next week.
She was afraid I was going to give it away this week.
Hey Larry, there's a few people asking about the paramotor cover. So
it's interesting. Yeah, let me give you just a quick update on that. We did get a couple of emails this week on that as well from some viewers. We have 2 prototypes that we're finished with, and we're testing them. The one thing about making a cover, there's different size cages. The cover is really designed for foot launch individuals, not for us old-wheeled guys. And we've come up with 2 prototypes, and one prototype is very easy to use. I like that better than the other prototypes, a little bit harder to use. They're what we call a tombstone design, which means, like a tombstone down. So we're testing them now. I don't own a foot launch machine, so every time I go flying and I have a buddy with me, I have to go over to his machine. They think what I'm doing to them. But we're testing those now, and it looks like we're going to go one way, which is going to be a lot easier to put on. We don't want to make something that's going to be difficult to use because nobody will use it. So it's coming along. We're getting close. We want to do it right. My concern is they're going to walk off the shelf because everybody is screaming for a good waterproof cover, and that's what the whole key is: waterproof. We're
great.
almost there. We're close.
So Kinga, you're now at the place where you've got some really big flights under your belt. You've already done some big cross country flying, and not only that, you've developed a little bit of confidence. How do you process those times when, back in the day, you were in fear? You got an article in the Cross Country magazine, and I read the article, and it was a great read. I put I don't know if I put that link in the description, but you can Google that cross country article. It's a very good article to read. She made the statement that she was just about to quit paragliding, and then very soon after, like a day or two afterwards, she flew again, and that was the day that she broke the record. How did you mitigate the fear factor to get where you are now?
Fear is very complex topic in paragliding. First of all, I believe that we shouldn't get rid of the fear like 100%, that we should be always aware, and when we fly, let's say a few percent, at least a few percent of the time that we spend in the air, we should be afraid. We should be on our toes, because it means that we do something new and something that we try to progress, that we go outside of our comfort zone. And I personally need to do it, and I think most of us need to do it to not get bored, to stay in this, in this flow, not to get too bored. But also you don't want to be afraid most of the times or every time when you go flying, because what kind of fun it is. It's paralyzing. You make stupid mistakes. You may overreact. You don't enjoy it, etc. So we kind of, I think we all know this part, that and this is another thing that maybe it's not talked so much in the paragliding world, and in my opinion it's because it's such a masculine sport and boys just don't talk too much about their fears. They're like, how was it, I just collapsed, and no, it was good, I got it. I was like, you didn't. But it's like, no, it's all cool. And we kind of need to embrace it. We need to embrace the fear and analyze it, and also look inside, because if we don't want to admit that or then we screwed up and we got afraid or we got scared, then we are trying to look for excuses. And this is probably the most common and the most damaging thing we can do to our flying: look for excuses from outside instead of looking inside there. Okay, why did it happen? Let's say I took a very bad collapse that went into a cascade and almost almost crashed, but somehow survived. It's like, why did it happen? Did it happen because the air was too turbulent or too windy, or the wing is crap, or maybe it just happened because I was tired, because I drank two beers too much yesterday, or maybe it happened because I had a really unpleasant talk with my partner before taking off or before leaving to flying, and I was a little bit tense, wasn't 100%. There's a lot of aspects that can influence our flying, and I think first of all we need to embrace all these things and look inside. And then once you look inside, there's usually, especially this first at this first months or years, or this first 100 hour of flying, there's a lot of fear, because there's, or maybe it depends. Sometimes there is, sometimes it's not, and then you finally do something so stupid that you get really scared, yeah, because you don't really understand what the danger is. This is another case. But if you already understand what can happen, or if you feel scared, I guess there's a few ways of managing it. For me, first of all, the question is if it's a real danger, if this is really something to be afraid of, because sometimes there is. And for example, don't take off if it's crossed and windy and a big dark cloud is building over you. It's scary, and just don't do it because it's stupid. But there's also all this, or don't fly in the midday in very strong conditions if you are not ready for it, because you're just a beginner pilot with 20 hours under your belt. Just don't do it because you're scared. And yeah, you're right, you should be scared, because it's just a dumb thing to do. Don't count on your luck. Every time I get over something, and at the beginning when I started flying, there was it happened quite often that after flight I thought, well, I was lucky today. And then I realized that it's the dumbest thing I can do, because I can be lucky once, and second time, and then, on the 11th time, I'm not lucky and I will crash and burn. So I don't want to be lucky. I want to make right decisions, right for me, right conditions, and right for me in these conditions. And this helps a lot for me to managing the fear. And personally, with what happened to me back then, when this what I described in the story, and I also talked a bit at the beginning of our talk about it. What happened to me wasn't really anything I could explain. I tried to talk to other pilots. I tried to talk to myself. I tried to persuade. I did SIV on the wing that I was flying back then, on the sea wing on the Arctic. Nothing really helped. I went with this wing to Europe. I still didn't feel comfortable on it. And finally, I downgraded it. I just went for a B wing. And it was so coded at this point in my mind that I'm such a young pilot, even if I already had, I don't know, 350 hours under my belt. I was flying for like barely a year and a half or something like this. So I still didn't understand a lot of things. And I was so convinced that at this point that the sea wing, if it collapses, it will just, I will die. That there was no way that I could persuade myself. That simplest thing that I could do in this particular case was downgrade the wing for a B, fly the B wing for a whole season, and then when I came back to the very same Arctic, very same sea wing, I was the happiest girl in the world on it. It just took a while to process. And I think we also need to give ourselves this time if we face some fears, that just don't push it. A lot of pilots that I talked to back then, men, of course, because most of pilots are men, told me, "Oh, what are you talking about? You used to be happy with this wing, and now what? What are you like? What's the problem? Just shake it off. Just get over it." And it's not exactly what's gonna help, maybe to some. For me, it was completely useless advice. I just couldn't get over it. For me, it was scary enough to treat it seriously. So in my case, I flew this record on this wing back then and reconnected to it, but still I had it already like a seed that I had already planted in me, seed of doubt, that maybe I'm not good enough, not pilot skilled enough and good enough for this wing, that I started flying it badly. I was overreacting. When I was taking collapse, I spun it, and once I took a big collapse, and I overreacted. I spun the other side and went into auto rotation, got really scared, and but I had heaps of altitude, nothing happened. But there were all the signals that I'm not comfortable on this wing. And this is probably another very important thing. If you are not comfortable on the wing, it doesn't matter if it's BC, CCC, or Z, you will never fly it well. So fly something that you're super comfortable with. And I'm not talking about, like some famous pilots say, oh, you need to stall it 150 times with your smile in your face, because if not, you can't fly 20 kilometers on your B wing. I don't totally agree with it, you know. I don't think it's necessary. What's necessary that you go flying, and whatever happens, you feel like, if I was on a B wing, I would feel the same way. If I was on the A wing, if I was on my school wing, I would feel the same. I would go to this, I would choose the same line. I would feel the same way, like, you know, level of comfort. So I think that this is the thing of the community does, and we can keep talking about, but it still will happen, because it's such an ego story that we want to fly high performance wings. And but big part of community flies the wings that are, I don't even want to say that they are not good pilots enough. Maybe they are, but it's not the point. The point is that they are not comfortable on them. And if you're not comfortable on a wing, the wing should be like you do it with your eyes closed. You just don't think about it. You think where to go. You think about taking pictures, like let it fly and take pictures. You think about things that are connected to enjoying the scenery and mountains or flatlands or whatever, not about like handling the wing as like, oh my God, something horrible is gonna happen if you know. I saw your film, by the way, the one of the, I mean, there's quite a few movies of it, but one is the famous one when you fly, and I think it's midday, and it was a year ago, I think, and you took this collapse, and then you went into like spiral, and then finally you spun the wing and stalled it, and you watch, it's like, oh my God. But when you go backward, you see that you are already uncomfortable at this particular moment before it happens. And then what happens is actually the consequence. I'm sure you gave it enough thought. I don't want to go through it right now. But if we just don't, what I'm trying to say, that if we don't feel comfortable, if we feel scared, it's like self, how do you say it? Self prophecy, that self, you know, that will happen, because we just kind of wait for it to happen. So the more you feel, so the more you feel uncomfortable, the bigger the chances that you will overreact, that, oh, you do some stupid mistake, put yourself on a bad lee side, because you are not focused where you are going, just focus on like keeping the thing open. And when basically 90% of the times, 99, it's enough to just leave the thing and alone and let it fly. But because we are scared, we are just always a little bit too low on these brakes and a little bit too rigid to really feel what's happening. So managing fear is basically like well, I can talk about it for hours, because it wasn't only this. I'll just say one more thing, that wasn't only this particular case. This one was big for me, because it was the really first time that I needed some dramatic actions, like changing the wing with no apparent reason, you know, no crashing, no big collapse, no reserve throw, nothing like this.
So would you say that is like psyching yourself out when that happens?
Psyching yourself off when what happens? When
psyching yourself out when you overreact, you're uncomfortable already in the air, you stalled your wing, now you're in a spiral, perhaps
do something really bad.
Yeah.
Something really bad, like twist. Then the next thing is twist, of course. And like, I'm not sure which part you're asking about now. If you are asking about general, because there's a difference also between the general fear and this nervousness and adrenaline rush if something really happens. Because let's say that you put yourself on a long flight, you put yourself on a nasty place, and you have to really scratch your way up. You're on the lee side, the thing is awful, the glider is trying to close over you, and then you can either like go to land, but sometimes in the mountains it also can happen that you really don't want to land there. You want to reclimb. You want to keep flying, and if you want to, if this is the case, and you feel like you get it, you are completely focused on the thing, and you know, you can even like sit like this and look at the thing, and it is adrenaline rush. You may be scared, but it's not the same fear. I think with the question concerns. The question is about how do we get over the fear when we really get psyched, yeah, when we really get something happens, for example, and how to come back to flying, or how to reconnect to being in the air and enjoying it again. And I had a really long talk with my friend who had a very bad accident last year and broke his back, and he's coming back to flying. And for me, the thing, he used to fly a D wing. For me, and he downgraded it to C wing. Good on him, but he's still very scared of whatever happens. He's very scared to fly. I said, take a bloody low B wing, take a school wing, come back to flying, spend some time in the air, and just to the point that you don't think at all about the wing. That just doesn't matter. That's like, it's just, you know that whatever happens, this thing stays open. You don't have to do anything. It's the easiest thing ever. Just get used to the being in the air and connecting it. And the more dramatic the trauma is, the more you have to kind of go not one step, but sometimes 3 steps back. And if this is what has to happen, just do it and don't be shy. I think this is the main thing I would say about managing fear. If you get to the point, and it may happen to anyone, it may happen to a beginner who got his first in his life collapse and put it into auto rotation and spin and stall and everything and got really scared. But it may happen also to very pilot who screwed up on his competition wing and had to throw reserve, and it was a really scary experience. Go down with the wing, go down with the timing, fly on the morning, fly in the evening, go to the beach, go grand handle, get used to it again, and reconnect. And whatever it takes, it's worth it. Because if you just try to fly like you were before, or fly does, or progress in someone else's pace, because you did your course with your friend and he's already flown his 100 miles flight and you are stuck on 40, doesn't matter. It's your pace and you're flying. Because at the end, if we don't, it's time consuming. It may be potentially dangerous if we do it wrong. It's expensive. It's demanding. Paragliding, it's a tough story. And if we don't enjoy most of the time we are in the air, what's the point of doing it?
That's it. I say that all the time.
Yeah,
this is all just for fun.
Yeah, either way.
Except for when you're in the X-Alps. then it's about victory.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going there to win.
That's right.
Who's this Kriegel again?
Kriegel, look out. She's going to be right behind you.
I mean, for X-Alps, it's also, this is one of the very important reasons why I applied to X-Alps, because I really wanted to see how I will. I mean, there's of course a few reasons, many reasons, but one of them is I really want to see how can I perform in such a messy and confusing surrounding. Competition itself puts a lot of pressure on you, but also there's a lot of media coverage and following and other pilots and fans, and there's a lot of things happening there, and you're trying to meet other people's expectations, and you just can't do it. You need to focus on what's in front. You need to focus on hiking, on flying, on making right decisions, on being in the right place, the right time, and finding your little bubble in the midst of chaos. This is something very interesting.
Yeah.
But to some point, maybe not to such an extreme level like in X-Alps, but to some point, every pilot has to do it. You have to, you come to the takeoff and you're super happy. It's a beautiful day, and you finally got this afternoon free. And there are these guys on the takeoff like, it's a bit windy, isn't it? Yeah, it's crossed. No, I don't think so. And you're just like, you don't want it, but you don't also see it. But they're just grunt sucking, and they're just projecting again some type of bad energy on you. And you need to find, and of course it comes with experience, but also you need to at every point of your paragliding development, you need to find this little bubble to say, no, I'm good. I'm good. I know and trust my decisions, or maybe not, because maybe they are right, and you are just not seeing something. This is something that comes with experience. But I'm trying to say we all have to find our bubble. You know, well, we all need to kind of detach a little bit from other people's expectations and from some pressure that maybe, I don't know, your friends are putting on you because because last week when you had to work, your friend flew this epic flight, so now you want to beat it, or there are different motivations for different pilots. But we just still, with all this, we'll never fly well if we think about this external motivation. We are just not 100% there. I strongly believe that to fly well, we need to really connect and be 100% in time and space. Now
I
it's
love it.
happening now.
Kinga,
So-
thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and joining us. We're well over the 1 hour mark. I promised. We have. I'm so thankful. We're going to follow you in the X-Alps. There's a Facebook page for the X-Alps. You can find out what's happening actively, and then also eventually you'll probably be able to connect on Facebook. You have a Facebook as well, right?
Yeah,
Kinga?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
and,
even sent you an invitation yesterday, I think.
Oh, okay. I need to log into that. I don't log into Facebook very often, so
Yeah.
I'll have to check on that. And then so I really appreciate everybody that's in the chat. We're gonna go off air. There'll be a quick after show. Thanks again for all the supporters of the show on the Patreon. Thank you so much for keeping this thing going. I feel like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the feedback is amazing. And everyone, I just love how everybody's like a family. Thank you, Pear Orange Products, for supporting the show and giving some momentum to it. I would love to have you come back on, Kinga, if you would be willing to come back.
Of course, with pleasure.
The chat is really grateful that you came on. I keep seeing more and more comments. I'll reach out to you again in an email. And when are you leaving for Europe? Did you say May?
I think it will be in April. Yeah.
April or May. Okay, so maybe we'll do something just before then and try to get you on and find out where you're at and how things are progressing.
I will be 5 kg heavier,
Yeah.
We'll see. Oh.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
for
Thank you
watching.
so much. That was awesome. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks,
check
guys.
out paraglidingtalk.com and find out what's coming up next. We're going to have a great show next week, and then it'll be Turkey Day and some other stuff going on. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night, and if I don't see you in there, I'll see you on there.
Bye.